So a couple days ago, we got the big news for the Kansas City Chiefs involving Rashee Rice that the NFL announced that he'd be suspended for the first 6 games of the 2025-26 season for violating the NFL's personal conduct policy. And this is no surprise. I mean, there was a hearing that he was going to have in, of course, a few days ago with his status of the season and kind of figuring out where he was going to land for the suspensions. I mean, I thought it was going to be, personally for me, I thought it was going to be less than 6 games, just knowing how the NFL operates with stuff like this. I mean, they're always backwards of how things operate. Horrible displays of acts by players usually get less games, and then simple things like gambling is a 1 year ban. So I mean, it just shows you the priorities where the NFL is in terms of their judgment, their gauge on things like that. Also, if you want to throw in Deshaun Watson with that whole dispute with debacle as well with the suspension and so forth. But certainly a big loss for the Chiefs. Now, I'm not going to overblow this and say this is it. This is going to derail their season. It's going to have a brutal impact to their offense. It's none of that. Even though it is still iffy and wondering how the offense is going to play out, given also you have Marquise Brown with his his health and status as well of how he's going to be at the start of the season, and putting a lot of pressure on second year Xavier Worthy as well as other players on the team as well. But looking at Rashee Rice, no doubt for Chiefs perspective, it is a massive blow. I mean, this is someone they've missed for really 16 games last year, 13 in the regular season, and then counting the 3 in the playoffs, divisional championship, and then the Super Bowl as well. It was a brutal loss down early in the year, week 5, I think it was, that he was in, or excuse me, week 4, week 5 around. I know it was against it was, I think, at the Chargers that did happen in, but only played 4 games last year. His stat line for that season was 288 yards, 2 touchdowns, and we saw how difficult it was for the Chiefs to really move the ball and really score. They have not been the same in a long time, really going back to the 2019-2020 season, the high-powered offense. That's not necessarily just on the Chiefs. We have seen other offenses slow down a little bit due to how the NFL is evolving with that and how defenses are playing, more specifically the 2 high-end safety, the 2 safeties in the backfield there, really taking away the deep throws with that. So last couple of years, it really has been different of how offenses have been more so, especially last year, running the football in that aspect. But it hasn't stopped the Chiefs, of course. The last 2 years, and if you want to really just focus on this past season, made it to the Super Bowl, was 15-2, number 1 seed, took care of business in the playoffs, and went to the Super Bowl, and got absolutely blown out against the Eagles. Now, if Rashee Rice was on the team or healthy on the game, would that have been a massive difference? I mean, no doubt it is helpful, of course, but would that have really altered the direction of how that would have gone? I don't know. I honestly doubt it. I think the Eagles were just on a much higher level at that point. It's certainly a much healthier team at that point as well. But so again, for Rashee Rice, I can't sit here and say again, this is it. This is over. The Chiefs are going to have a huge step back this season in the first 6 games. What are they going to do? How are they going to figure this out? They'll be just fine. They have figured this out really the last 2 or 3 years of how it's really operated and how they've gone. That is pretty much how it stands, or really, I should say, the last 2 years, I should say, of how it's gone. They find ways to win. Yes, it's not pretty. It's not the best that we've seen in years past. Again, the high power offense with Tyreek Hill and so forth, scoring tons of points, having 50 touchdown passes by Patrick Mahomes in the season. It's none of that. It's not flashy, but they still win. They still find ways to figure it out. And if you want to say luck or whatever it may be, cheating, however you want to put it, as for conspiracy theories with it. End of the day, the Chiefs find ways to win, and that's how it is. Great teams find ways to win, and they have shown that for years now. So I'm not going to sit here and say the Chiefs are going to take again a massive step back for the offense for the first 6 games. I mean, you look at the roster. Yes, I am a little bit worried for the wide receiver position. With outside of Xavier Worthy, I do expect him. He's going to have to, regardless, have a bigger impact, a bigger load on the offensive side, and be I want to say thrust it into a higher position that he should be at this point. But again, he has a great talent, phenomenal speed. I'm sure Andy Reid and that offense will find out a way to utilize him. After that, it does get a bit iffy. Tyquan Thornton, who they brought in recently, you have Juju Smith-Schuster, who's on the team for a couple of seasons or in previous stints. Jalen Royals, Nico Ramingo, as well as Jason Blowney, if I said his last name right, And then, of course, going to be talking about Hollywood Brown, his stats, unsure with his health as well. So the wide receiving position is iffy. If certainly no question about that. It is very concerning from that standpoint. But again, they'll find ways to figure it out. You have the running game too on top of that with who they on the roster right now: Kareem Hunt, Elijah Mitchell, Isaiah Pachenko. You have Brashad Smith as well. So it more so trying to, I think, lean on the running side of things with it too, as well as tight ends. I mean, you have Travis Kelce, though he has slowed down the last couple seasons, especially this past year. They'll be just fine with that. They'll still find ways to utilize him. He'll still get open on third downs. He'll still make clutch catches. So there's no question he'll be also have a heavier load to start off the season before as we get closer to Rashee Rice's return. When he does return, no doubt it's huge. You look at what he's done in his career, his rookie season, going back to 2023, he had 79 catches for 938 yards, 7 touchdowns. He also broke the record for most receptions by a rookie receiver in the playoffs, like we talked about with that. So he's a big help. He's, I think, no doubt a steal in the draft when they got him in 2023. Yes, he's had off the field issues as well too that has really knocked his image and how people perceive him. But still, a great talent for the Kansas City Chiefs, and no doubt the number one wide receiver when he steps in, and that's what he has been the last couple of years. On the wide in the wide receiving room, so it's it does suck that you're gonna be missing him, but also this is no question if you want to call it as similar to the Patriots when Tom Brady was suspended for the first 4 games, it's just giving him rest. He's still recovering from that season-ending injury. If you suspend him for the first 6 games, by the time he gets back, it'll be over 1 year since he got hurt and when he played. So yes, it is negative because he's not on the field playing. He's not up to game speed per se, but also too, it's keep him out for an extra 2 weeks. 2 weeks after that 1 year anniversary, 1 year around when he got hurt last season, and just make him healthier when he comes back. So yes, it is sucks that they are going to be missing him for the 6 games, but also he is going to be healthy. Also, just again, more time removed off that injury, as well as not taking the hits compared to other players in that time span for the first 6 games of the season. Just quickly looking at the first 6 games, what they're going to be playing against while Rashee Rice is out, is starting off, of course, the Brazil game in Rio on Friday, the Chargers, Eagles, Giants, Ravens, Jaguars, Lions. So it is a tough stretch, no doubt about that. The easiest one being the Giants, of course, but you have division rival, the Chargers, have gotten better. Super Bowl champions who blew you out in that game. Giants should be the easiest one. Ravens with Lamar Jackson, that's going to be a difficult one. And Jacksonville, it's very hit or miss. I don't know how they're going to look this year. I mean, certainly you have the great talent. You have the hype talent of Travis Hunter and what he's going to display at that point. Who knows how he's going to be, as well as trying to rebound with a first time head coach, and if Trevor Lawrence can take a step forward and how that rest of the team goes. So again, iffy how they're going to be. That could also be an easy team on their schedule. Regardless, it is right now on paper certainly the second easiest team, only behind, the only team that's easier is just the Giants, off initial reaction. And you have the Detroit Lions, who are one of the top contenders in the NFC as well. So overall, it is a difficult first 6-game stretch of missing Rashee Rice. Again, I'm not going to sit here and say that the Chiefs can't find a way to win most of these games like they've shown you for years past. But no doubt it is going to affect that. And I think it's going to not more so talk about Rashee Rice, but also the other receivers. And again, more specifically, Xavier Worthy, if he's going to be able to step up and really be the explosive player that they hope to. The great talent that he has, can he step up? Also, too, with Travis Kelce, how is he going to look through the first 6 games of the season? Is he going to kind of pick up where he left off? And, it wasn't just necessarily, I guess a quick note for this, it wasn't necessarily just Travis Kelce had took a step back last year, even though the stats and compared to previous seasons, yes, it was a step back for him, but it was really a step back for tight ends in general. It was really a down year all across the board for tight ends, and even when you look at for PFF for his grades for his stats for the season, it was still elite. It was still up there among the rest of the tight ends, even though it wasn't flashy compared to previous seasons. It was still up there for the stats for receptions, yards, and touchdowns as well. But still, 35 years old, all the hits he's taken, especially the extra games with the extended playoff runs with the Super Bowls and so forth, it is going to take a toll eventually. And you do also worry about not want to get into the whole conversation about off the field stuff too, of course, with Taylor Swift and the engagement, and also too with him in the magazine talking about that. Yes, his focus has been kind of split from football a little bit the last couple of years because of also off the field things he's done. You do question about his commitment a tad bit of, is he kind of 1 foot out of the door, 1 foot in that aspect of it too. So there is some question marks with everyone else, but again, the Chiefs will be fine. They will find ways to win like they've always had. But still, it is a tough stretch without Rashee Rice. If Rashee Rice does come back in Week 7, if things go well, he'll be back against the Las Vegas Raiders, which should be an easier time for him to kind of ease himself back into. And after that, it does get a little bit tough of a stretch here. When you look at Week 8, the Commanders, Week 9, Buffalo, Week 10 they have the bye week, and then after that you have the Broncos Week 11, Colts 12, Cowboys 13, Texans 14, Chargers 15, Titans 16, Denver 17, and then wrapping up the season at Vegas with the Raiders. So again, when Rashee Rice comes back, it is a much better stretch. It's certainly easier teams in there. The Tennessee Titans is one, Dallas Cowboys, Colts. But you do have some tough ones, especially look at the division. You have the Broncos twice still. You have the Chargers again. You have the Raiders again. At that point, you have the Texans, who gave him some trouble, especially defensively in the divisional round, getting to Mahomes a few times as well. So there is some kind of question marks of how it's going to be. They're going to make the playoffs, of course. They're going to meet the contenders, so don't worry about that. They're not going to miss the playoffs. They're not going to take a step back. But still, it's going to be a little bit of a tough season, I think, for them as well. But looking again for Rashee Rice in the first 6 games, really focusing on that for suspension. Again, what I keep saying over and over again, yes, it's going to be, I think, a little bit more difficult for the Chiefs to find ways to move the ball around. Whether it's just kind of, if you want all the factors, it's the fatigue. Can they get to 4 straight Super Bowls? The extra games on top of that, players aging. I mean, there's many more factors than just if things don't work out of simply saying yes because Rashee Rice wasn't there. There are many more factors as to why, if things don't go well, it's then certainly more than just Rashee Rice. There is more factors to that as well, like you've mentioning. But again, we'll see what happens with the Chiefs and Rashee Rice. Again, I don't think it's to be too much of an issue whatsoever. He'll step in. He'll automatically be the number 1 wide receiver, and then open things up more for Xavier Worthy, for Travis Kelce, for other receivers, Marquise Brown at that too on top of that. So again, I'm not too no one should really be too worried if you're a Chiefs fan. Of course, you're upset that you're missing your guy. Even more, and up until that point, after the 6 games, it'll be 22 games in total between 2023 and also including, again, the 3 games in the postseason as well as the first 6 games. So it is brutal missing your guy for a good portion of his early career thus far, but no question he'll be healthy, he'll be rested, and they'll be able to take off at that point. Who knows? Maybe it's a blessing in disguise for the Chiefs that he comes in healthy and can take off instantly, and then really open things up for the Chiefs. So we'll see how things play out. Week 7, if that is the earliest he does come back and return against the Las Vegas Raiders at home.